All right, let's dive into something that honestly gets right to the core of how we live. We're going to be exploring the incredible work of Brené Brown. And just a heads up, this is not your typical self help guide. This is a deep dive into a powerful idea she calls wholehearted living. Let's get into it. So let's Brown's research. That exact feeling is at the very root of so many of our struggles. So who's the researcher who's unpacked all of this? Dr. Brené Brown. Now, she actually started her career studying the really tough emotions, shame, fear, that kind of thing. But as she was digging through all this data on human connection, her work took this sharp, totally unexpected turn, and it revealed a pattern that would end up changing everything. So just picture this. Brené is sifting through thousands of personal stories. And as she's going, this pattern starts to emerge. It was so clear. It basically divided people into two groups. On one side, you had people with this deep, real sense of their own worth. And on the other side, you had people who were just constantly struggling. She gave all the stuff that gets in the way. Brown said that when she laid these two lists out side by side, she was just stunned. Because all right, let's dive into something that honestly gets right to the core of how we live. We're going to be exploring the incredible work of Dr. Brené Brown that tells you you're just not good enough. You know the one. It kind of whispers that you're on the outside looking in, that you're striving and striving, but never quite arriving. Well, it turns out, according to Brené Brown's research, that exact feeling is at the very root of so many of our struggles. So who's the researcher who's unpacked all of this? Dr. Brené Brown. Now, she actually started her career studying the really tough emotions, shame, fear, that kind of thing. But as she was digging through all this data on human connection, her work took this sharp, totally unexpected turn, and it revealed a pattern that would end up changing everything. So just picture this. Brené is sifting through thousands of personal stories, and as she's going, this pattern starts to emerge. It was so clear. It basically divided people into two groups. On one side, you had people with this deep, real sense of their own worth, and on the other side, you had people who were just constantly struggling. She gave that first group a name, the wholehearted. And then came the crisis, because she had this moment where she realized she was firmly in that second group. In this chart, this is pretty much what she found. Just look at this. On the left side, you've got the practices of the wholehearted. And on the right, all the stuff that gets in the way. Brown said that when she laid these two lists out side by side, she was just stunned, because her own life was basically a perfect roadmap of the column on the right. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, thankfully, Brown's research didn't just diagnose the issue. It also pointed to a new path forward, a completely different way of engaging with the world that she calls wholehearted living. And this, right here, is the core of it. Wholehearted living isn't about becoming perfect. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's about engaging in your life from a place of worthiness, from that foundational belief that says, you know what? No matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough, right now, just as you are. But look, this isn't like flipping a switch. It's not that simple. Brown found that living this way takes three essential tools. And the really key thing here is that these aren't ideals or personality traits you're just born with. They are skills, they are practices that you can actually cultivate every single day. And here they are: courage, compassion, and connection. It's the courage to be imperfect, to be vulnerable. The compassion to be kind to yourself first before anyone else. And the kind of connection that can only happen when you let go of who you think you're supposed to be. These three things, these are the gifts of imperfection. Of course, it's not that simple. There's a major roadblock on this path. Brown calls it the swampland of the soul. And it's fueled by an emotion that we all know, but we really hate to talk about. And that's shame. Now, let's get really clear on what shame is, because it is not the same as guilt. Guilt is feeling bad about something you did. Shame is that intensely painful belief that you are bad, that you are fundamentally flawed, and because of it, you're unworthy of love and belonging. And here's where shame gets its power. It thrives in the dark. It grows with secrecy, silence, and judgment. So when we hide our stories, when we stay silent about our struggles, and when we judge ourselves and others, we're basically just feeding it. And this brings it all right back home, to us. So just take a second here and think about this. Where does that fear of not being enough actually show up in your life? Is it at work? In your relationships? Maybe as a parent? Just practices for the journey. We're going to focus on three that are really essential. First up, authenticity. This is the daily choice to just be real, instead of trying so hard to be liked. It means letting go of that exhausting performance of who you think you're supposed to be, and just embracing who you are. It's incredibly brave, and it's really the only way to truly belong. Next, letting go of perfectionism. Brown uses this powerful metaphor. She says, perfectionism isn't about healthy striving. It's a 20-ton shield we carry around to protect ourselves from shame. The only way to put down that heavy shield is to practice self-compassion. Treating ourselves with the same kindness we'd give to a good friend. And this next one, wow, this feels so countercultural today. In a world that wears exhaustion like it's a badge of honor, wholehearted people get that rest and play aren't rewards you earn. They are absolute necessities for a joyful and meaningful life. So when you put all of this together, the courage, the compassion, letting go of all that perfectionism, you start to see the bigger picture. This isn't some easy, quick fix. It's a journey, and it's one that requires profound bravery. And this quote from Brown just nails it. Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we will ever do. I mean, think about that. The bravest thing we'll ever do isn't some external challenge. It's owning our own story. All of it, the good and the messy, and loving ourselves through that process. And maybe this is the most liberating part of all of this. There's no finish line. This isn't a destination you just arrive at one day. It's a practice. It's a way of walking the path with your whole heart every single day. So we'll leave you with this final, really powerful question from Brené Brown that kind of frames the choice we all have. What's the greater risk? Letting go of what other people think of you, or letting go of how you feel, what you believe, and who you really are?
Aristotle once said something that I think really sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about today.
Oh, I think I know the one you mean.
Yeah, he said, excellence is not an act, but a habit. There's this specific kind of exhaustion that I think everyone listening will instantly recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the, I just ran a marathon kind of tired. It's the exhaustion of constantly managing how the world sees you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a full-time job of image management.
Which is funny, right? Because we treat that exhaustion almost...
There's this specific kind of exhaustion that I think everyone listening will instantly recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the, I just ran a marathon kind of tired. It's the exhaustion of constantly managing how the world sees you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a full-time job of image management.
Which is funny, right? Because we treat that exhaustion almost like a badge of honor. But if you actually look at the data, it's a huge warning sign.
Today, we're diving into the book that, it basically just ripped the lid off that whole feeling. We're talking about Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection.
Right.
And I know everyone's heard of Brené Brown. She's everywhere.
Sure.
But I feel like most people know the memes, maybe the TED Talk, but they haven't really grappled with the mechanics of what she's saying, especially in this book.
I totally agree. It gets filed under self-help, which can feel a little fluffy.
Yeah.
But this is really a sociology book.
Exactly.
It's based on a decade of research, thousands of interviews, really rigorous data analysis on, shame, vulnerability, worthiness. It just happens to be written by someone who's really funny and tells great stories.
Well, and someone who was, let's be honest, personally victimized by her own data.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of the origin story here. This was not some guru coming down from the mountain with all the answers. This was a researcher who was trying to hack the system and just failing.
Right. So it's 2006. Brown is deep in her research. She calls herself a pattern hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to understand human connection. So she divides all her data into two piles. One pile is people who feel a deep sense of love and belonging. The other, people who struggle for it. She's just trying to find the variables.
She's looking for the formula, like do X, get Y.
Exactly. And she creates this list of what the wholehearted people, the happy ones, do.
Yeah.
And a list of what they don't do. And she's expecting that do list to be stuff like, work hard, stay organized, follow the rules.
And instead, the do list is what? Like rest, play, vulnerability.
Yes. And the don't list, the stuff that actually blocks connection, is perfectionism, numbing, exhaustion, being cool, needing certainty.
Which was, that was her entire personality at the time.
100%.
Okay.
She realized she was living straight down that don't list.
Yeah.
And this is the part that gets me. She didn't have some Zen moment.
No.
She had a breakdown. She literally took her research poster, folded it up, shoved it in a Rubbermaid tub, and hid it under her bed.
Next to the Christmas wrapping paper. I love that detail.
Yeah.
Like, if I put the data in the tub, it can't hurt me.
Yeah.
It's such a human reaction to a truth you don't want to hear. We want the answer to be work harder, because we know how to do that.
Right.
You don't know how to do let go.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive. We need to unpack what she pulled out of that Rubbermaid tub.
Right.
How do we move from what will people think to I am enough? And I want to be really clear here. This isn't about lowering your standards or giving up. It's about a fundamental shift in how you view your own worth.
Okay, so let's start there with wholeheartedness. Because honestly, it sounds a little bit like a greeting card. I am enough.
Sure.
Okay, great. But if I stop striving, if I stop trying to be better, don't I just become complacent? I mean, in the real world, if I tell my boss I am enough, I'm probably going to get fired.
That's the most common pushback.
Nah.
But Brown isn't saying stop growing or stop working. She's talking about the basis of your worthiness. Most of us, we live by this if-when equation.
Well, yeah.
I'll be worthy when I lose 20 pounds. I'll
Yeah.
be worthy if I make partner. I'll be worthy if my kids get into the right school.
So we're basically holding our self-worth hostage.
Exactly. We treat worthiness like the carrot at the end of a very long stick. Brown's data shows wholehearted people operate differently. They believe worthiness is a right now thing. You are worthy of love and belonging as is. You can still want to lose the weight or get the promotion, but your fundamental worth as a human being isn't on the table. It's not up for negotiation based on the outcome.
Okay, I can see that distinction. It's the difference between I failed at this task and I am a failure.
Precisely. And to live that way, you need tools. She identifies 3 big ones. Courage, heroic courage, yeah. But the word actually comes from the Latin cor, which means heart. The original definition was to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart.
Oh, wow.
So ordinary courage is just showing up, being the first one to say I love you, admitting I don't know the answer in a boardroom full of experts.
Which frankly feels way scarier than burning buildings sometimes.
It is, because it risks rejection. And that leads right into compassion. This is where the research really surprised me. We tend to think of compassionate people as soft, maybe a bit like pushovers.
Right, the nice people, oh, it's okay, you walked all over me, no big deal people.
Exactly. But the data says the opposite. The most compassionate people in her study were also the most boundaried people.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Well, think about it. If you don't have boundaries, if you say yes when you mean no, if you let people exploit you, you become resentful.
Yeah, you're seething underneath.
You are. And can you truly be compassionate towards someone while you're resenting them?
No, you're just pretending to be nice while you're like plotting their demise in your head.
Exactly. So to be truly compassionate, you have to separate the person from the behavior. You have to be able to say, I love you, but this behavior is not okay. And that takes a hard boundary. So boundaries aren't a barrier to compassion. They're the prerequisite.
That is a massive reframe. Okay, so we've got courage, compassion, and then there's connection.
And the big barrier here is the myth of self-sufficiency. We live in this culture that worships the self-made man, the lone wolf.
Right.
But neurobiologically, that's just nonsense. We are wired for connection. It's a survival imperative. Brown argues you simply cannot live a wholehearted life in isolation. Asking for help isn't a weakness. It's just a function of being human.
But asking for help is terrifying because it opens the door to the big bad villain of this whole book, the thing she studied for years before she even got to the happy stuff,
Shame.
the master emotion. And we need to be really technical here because people mix this up constantly. What is the actual mechanical difference between shame and guilt?
It all comes down to focus.
Yeah.
Guilt is focused on behavior. Shame is focused on the self.
Okay.
Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad.
Give me an example.
Okay, say you forget your best friend's birthday. Guilt says, oh man, I messed up. I'm a terrible friend for forgetting. I need to apologize and make it right. Shame says, I'm such an idiot. I always do this. I'm just a selfish person who doesn't deserve friends.
Oof. I can feel the difference in my gut. Guilt propels you to fix it. Shame just makes you want to hide under a rock.
Exactly. Guilt is adaptive. It helps us hold on to our values.
Yeah.
Shame is maladaptive. It corrodes the part of us that believes we can change. And here's the kicker. Shame thrives in secrecy. It needs silence to grow.
So how do you fight it? Because you can't just decide to never feel shame again. That's impossible.
No, you will feel it. The goal is shame resilience. And the first step is recognizing the physical signs. For a lot of people, it's like a hot flash or time slows down, tunnel vision. When that hits, you have to do the absolute counterintuitive thing.
You have to reach out.
You have to tell on yourself.
You have to speak it.
You do. There's that story in the book about the egads email. Brown posts a goofy photo of herself, and some stranger emails her saying, "Egads, you look terrible. I'd never post a photo like that."
Which is just welcome to the internet.
Right. And her immediate reaction, her shame brain wanted to destroy this woman. She drafted this nasty, snarky reply. She wanted to shame the shamer. Mm-hmm. But instead, she practiced resilience. She stepped away, called a friend, and just said the honest thing. My feelings are hurt.
It sounds so simple, but that breaks the whole cycle. If she'd sent the snarky email, she would have just been passing the shame potato back and forth.
Exactly. And this connects to the other massive barrier she identifies, the difference between fitting in and belonging.
I honestly used to think those were synonyms.
Most of us do. But think about middle school. Fitting in is assessing the situation. What are the cool opposite? You can only belong if you are presenting your authentic self. So by definition, fitting in is a barrier to belonging.
That's profound. If I fit in, you accept my mask, not me. So I still feel totally lonely, even in a crowd. Okay, so we've got the philosophy, we've identified the enemy, which is shame. Now let's get into the guideposts. These are the specific do's and don'ts she pulled from the data. And the first group is all about authenticity and perfectionism.
And this is where she introduces the 20-ton shield.
Okay, I think a lot of high achievers listening are going to bristle at this. We're taught perfectionism is a good thing. It's about quality. It's excellence.
And Brown shuts that down hard.
Yeah.
She says perfectionism is not about healthy striving. Healthy striving is internally focused. How can I improve?
Right.
Perfectionism is externally focused. What will they think? It's a defensive move.
Right.
We use it as a shield. We think, if I look perfect and work perfect and live perfect, I can avoid judgment, blame, and shame.
But the shield is so heavy. And gratitude. This is the one that really hit me. Because when we feel exposed, our first instinct is to numb that feeling.
We do. We use food, alcohol, shopping, endless scrolling on our phones. Mm-hmm. We just want to take the edge off the vulnerability. But the biology here is ruthless. You cannot selectively numb emotion.
You can't just numb the bad stuff.
No. When you numb the fear and the shame, you also numb the joy, the excitement, the gratitude. You just flatten your entire life into this gray line.
But here's the twist. Even when we do feel joy, we sabotage it. She calls this foreboding joy.
Oh, this is the most relatable thing in the whole book for me. It's that moment when you're looking at your sleeping child and you're just overwhelmed with love, and then suddenly your brain flashes a horrific image of something bad happening to them.
Or you get a promotion and immediately think, okay, I'm going to get fired. Why do our brains do that?
Because joy is the most vulnerable emotion we have. When we're joyful, we have something to lose. So our brain tries to beat vulnerability to the punch. It says, don't get too happy, you'll get hurt. It's a protective mechanism, but it just robs us of the moment.
So what's the fix? How do we stop that doom spiral?
Gratitude.
Yeah.
And not just, feeling grateful. She found that the people who could actually lean into joy had a tangible practice of gratitude.
A practice?
Yes. When the fear hits, they stop and they actually say, I am feeling this fear because I am so grateful for what I have. They use gratitude as an anchor to stay in the joy.
Let's move to the next area, which feels like a personal attack on my lifestyle. Productivity, play, and rest.
Oh, this is a big one. We live in a culture where exhaustion is a status symbol. If you aren't busy, you don't matter.
But she says we need play, and I'll be the skeptic here. Play feels like a waste of time. I have bills to pay. I can't just go, frolic in a meadow.
It feels like a waste because we define our worth by our output.
Yeah.
But Brown brings in Dr. Stuart Brown, no relation, who's a psychiatrist, and his research is fascinating. He says the opposite of play isn't work. The opposite of play is depression.
Whoa, okay, that raises the stakes.
It's biological. Play, which is just time spent without a purpose, just for the sake of doing it, is essential for creativity, empathy, problem solving. If you don't play, your brain literally stiffens up. You become rigid.
So doing nothing is actually doing something for your brain.
Exactly. Brunner, we want proof before we act. We want proof before we act.
Yeah.
But intuition requires us to trust the pattern before we have the proof.
We have to trust ourselves more than we trust the data sheet.
Yes.
Yes?
And that requires a little faith in yourself.
Okay, now we have to talk about the Nordstrom story. This is the climax of the book for me because it ties everything together: shame, connection, and the refusal to be cool.
It's such a great scene. So Brene is at Nordstrom with her daughter, Ellen. They're shoe shopping. A song comes on, something poppy and fun. And Ellen, who is young, just starts dancing. And not like cute dancing. She is doing the robot, full on, in the middle of the shoe department.
And the cool police are watching.
Right. There are 3 women nearby, very polished, very put together, and they're watching Ellen with this look of just like bewildered judgment. And Brene freezes.
Oh, I can feel that panic. The parent panic. Control your child.
Yes, her internal gremlin starts screaming, "Make her stop! She's embarrassing you! Everyone is looking! Be cool!" She is terrified of the judgment of these strangers. She's about to shame her daughter into conformity just to protect her own ego.
That's the fitting in trap right there.
But she catches herself. She looks at Ellen's face. Ellen is happy, she's vulnerable, and she's looking at her mom for connection. And Brene realizes, I can either be cool and betray my daughter, or I can be uncool and connect with her.
So what does she do?
She starts dancing. She pulls out the scarecrow move.
The scarecrow? That is bold.
It is. She just joins the absurdity. She chooses connection over image, and the 3 women watching, they just gathered their stuff and walked away.
And that's the victory.
That is wholeheartedness in action. Betraying yourself to be cool is the ultimate barrier. You have to be willing to be awkward, to be messy, and to be uncool if you want real connection.
I love that. So we've covered a lot. We've got the 3 C's, the 20-ton shield, the robot dance. But when things get hard, because they will, she offers a quick tactical method called DIG.
Yes. Keep this in your back pocket when you're feeling overwhelmed. D, get deliberate. Wake up and pay attention to your thoughts. I get inspired. Read something, listen to something, talk to someone who lifts you up. And G, get going. Take action. Don't just sit in the shame spiral. Move your body. Make a call.
So as we wrap this up, if we zoom all the way out, what's the big takeaway? Why does this matter so much right now?
I think it matters more now than ever. We're living in a high pressure, high visibility world. We're curated to death. And Brown is telling us that authenticity is an act of resistance. In a culture that wants you to fit in, choosing to be yourself is revolutionary.
And realizing that we're not just our job titles.
Right. She mentions the concept of the slash identity. We try to box ourselves in. I am an accountant, but wholehearted people embrace the slash. I am an accountant, a jazz drummer, a father, a gardener. We're complex.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. It's a challenge, really. If you stopped answering the question, what do you do with your job title, and instead answered with what makes you come alive, what would you say?
That's the question. Drop the shield, do the robot dance, and find your slash.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.